Part 51. The Strongest Assassin in the Server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 501. As everyone said, Cayman's weapon was blown up, but he was still not panicked. It was just an ordinary punch, but it still caused more than 8 million damage, and 2 punches caused more than 16 million damage. Infinite dominance, the defense is even more terrifying. Team Teleport. Ye Chen swooped down and came to the ground in the colorful space, and casually cast a magic circle. Then, Lu Mang and other silent mages were forcibly pulled over. This. Cayman looked at Ye Chen deeply, with a strong envy in his eyes. You know, this colorful space is a different space opened up by the space symbol. They were originally above the Dark City, but now they are not, because the space is different. This space power is obviously the power of God, the space law. This space law, as well as Jian Wuhan's time law, is more mysterious and powerful than the fire element law, the power law, the agility law, etc. Ye Chen couldn't figure out what it was, but he was extremely suspicious. Maybe there was an even more terrifying existence above the upper gods. And the team teleportation obviously also had a trace of space law. Ye Chen used this to pull all his teammates into this alien space. In fact, not only the team teleportation, but Ye Chen's hand of hell also had a trace of the power of space law. Silence, rage, and fighting spirit, Ye Chen shouted directly. Cayman now had no weapons and most of his skills could not be used, but rage and fighting spirit could still be used. Lu Mang heard this and immediately released the silence. The next moment, the terrifying fighting spirit on Cayman's body dissipated, and the domineering body dissipated, the attack power plummeted by 16 times. And the defense ability plummeted by more than 50 times. Fight! Ye Chen snorted coldly, and all the members attacked wildly, and Cayman's HP suddenly dropped like water. Although Cayman was silenced, his identity as a preacher still existed, and he was at the peak of the holy domain, and his fire resistance was at least 4,000 points. Ye Chen's current fire power is only more than 2,500 points. He dared not use fire power to attack. He immediately changed to a non-attribute dagger. The damage was 25 times lower than that of fire power. Using fire power, the skill easily broke through 1,000,000 damage, but now it is only about 100,000. The damage of Yuming, Chen Yang and the other 6 people has also dropped significantly, and the skill only has tens of thousands of damage. But the Saint Domain Strongman on Jian Wuhan's side has normal damage, and the skill damage exceeds 1,000,000. In addition, Jian Wuhan weakened from time to time, and all 13 people attacked wildly. Cayman was stiffened by the cycle. In just 5 minutes, Cayman's HP plummeted by half. At this pace, he will really fall. After I reached the peak of the Saint Domain, I have been hard to find an opponent for hundreds of years. I didn't expect that today, I would fall in the hands of you little kids. Cayman's face was full of vicissitudes, as if he had aged hundreds of years in an instant. However, despite all the hardships, he had no way out. His weapon was blown up, his fury and fighting spirit were sealed, and he was even weakened by the power of the law of time occasionally. His death was a foregone conclusion. Space Talisman, you wanted to trap us, but you didn't expect to trap yourself, Ye Chen sneered. If Cayman hadn't used the Space Talisman, how could he, a peak Saint Domain expert, fall so easily? Hearing this, Cayman's expression became even more complicated. Next, Ye Chen was afraid that time was running out, so he used a strong attack again, destroying Cayman's equipment one after another, further reducing his defense. Another 3 minutes passed, and Cayman fell, dropping a saint grid and a scroll. Yan Yang. Ye Chen grabbed the scroll that fell down with one hand, ecstatic. He immediately opened the scroll and found that Yan Yang was not something that everyone could learn. It actually required 500 points of fire strength. But Ye Chen's fire strength was more than 2,500 points, so he clapped his hands and learned it directly. You should know that this element is physically immune, not only restraining strong attacks, but sometimes facing physical Saint Domain strongmen. It is like Cayman. If used properly, it can also block a fatal attack. Continue to attack the city. After learning Yan Yang, Ye Chen once again engaged people in the siege project. In a flash, another half an hour passed, and Ye Chen blew up the Dark City crystal. System, you captured the Dark City of the Dark Camp and won 900,000 merits. The broadcast and system prompts sounded one after another. Ye Chen won a lot of merits and became the Lord of Dark City. He was also promoted to Major General. System, your merits exceeded 5 million, and you were promoted to Major General. System, congratulations on your promotion to Major General. The daily gift package of military rank has changed, please check. System, congratulations on your promotion to Major General and the Major General Medal. As the system prompt sounded, the Colonel Medal on Ye Chen's chest changed and turned into a Major General Medal. Gold quality. Level 1. Strength 300. Physical strength 300. Intelligence 300. Spirit 300. Agility 300. Special effect, all shops in the light camp are discounted by 30%. Additional skills, Level 4 Fighting Spirit. After obtaining the Major General Medal, Ye Chen's attributes soared again. In addition, the daily military rank gift package also changed a lot. When I opened it, I saw. System, you get 10 detection devices, 10 teleporters, 1 lazy potion, 1 God of War potion, and 1 almighty training field ticket. Oh, the Major General's gift package actually comes with a lazy potion. Ye Chen smiled. You know, this lazy potion is very expensive. More importantly, it is out of stock. If you use 1 bottle, you will have 1 less. Now he can get a bottle for free every day, of course he is happy. And the War God potion, contrary to the lazy potion, prolongs the attack state time, suitable for Berserker. Berserker, because the combo count is full of fury, it becomes a hegemon, and the damage is doubled. After exiting the combat state after 5 seconds, this effect will not be achieved. As long as the War God potion is used, the attack state time can be extended. Lazy potion and excitement potion are low-end items. Lazy potion and War God potion are high-end items, expensive, and unsaleable. Of course, Ye Chen can't use this War God potion, and is ready to transfer it to others, but finds that these gift package items cannot be traded. So he can only give up. As for the almighty training field ticket, Ye Chen has never heard of it. After all, in his previous life, he was just a rookie, not to mention a major general, he was not even a second lieutenant. Let's go back and play Horror Gothic. After conquering Dark City and Broken Army City, Ye Chen served as the mayor of the 2 main cities, but he also set a copper coin as the entrance fee. Money is something you can never make enough of. If you make some popularity now, it will be convenient to gain faith when you become a god in the future. Okay. Jian Wuhan and others nodded and teleported away together. Ye Chen was not in a hurry, and directly used the ticket to teleport to a training ground. There were more than 10 people standing in the training ground, and each of them was at least a lieutenant general, of course, a lieutenant general of the light camp, or a general. Their professions were different. There were fire mages, ice mages, thieves, knights, berserkers. XNT. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 502. More than 10 people, more than 10 kinds of professions. Why are you so young? Everyone looked at Ye Chen and was stunned. They were all lieutenant generals, even generals, so they knew that it was extremely difficult to reach the level of general, even if it was just a major general. Thinking back then, I was promoted to Major General when I was over 50 years old. Suddenly an old man said, "Dear seniors, this is the almighty training field, what is it for?" Yechen was stared at by more than 10 people with complicated eyes, and he was also very uncomfortable, and asked hurriedly, "Boy, you are blessed. You should know that a general, even a major general, is the first-line combat force of the alliance." The old man smiled and said, "In order to enrich your skills and to strengthen the strength of the alliance, we will help you." "So I'm asking, how can you help me?" Yechen asked. The old man and the generals looked at each other and smiled. "You can choose any one of us among the more than 10 people, and I can teach you a skill." Cross-class skill teaching. Yechen was shocked. He suddenly remembered that some high-end players in his previous life would occasionally use skills that did not belong to their profession. Especially stealth. In his previous life, many high-end players who were not thieves could also use stealth. He figured it out now. Obviously, those high-end players must have come here after being promoted to major generals. However, since there is strong stealth, why do you still need to learn stealth? You know, in the later stage, not to mention the eagle eyes of the archer, the blood-red eyes alone are basically possessed by high-end players, which restrains stealth. But strong stealth is different. Unless it is perception, it cannot be seen at all. Not long after, everyone explained his doubts. Of course, although it is a skill to be taught, you can only choose skills of level 30 or below, the generals explained. Yechen suddenly realized, yes, since there is this opportunity, what about stealth and strong concealment? You should directly learn the 80-level skills of other professions. It turns out that skills above level 30 are not allowed to be learned at all. Then, when I am promoted to lieutenant general or even general, will I get such an opportunity again? Yechen asked cautiously. He, you kid is dreaming, there is only this one chance, you must grasp it well and choose it well. The generals laughed and scolded. Hearing this, Yechen fell into deep thought. If there is only this one chance, he really needs to think about it carefully. Fire C, thank you. After a while, after careful consideration, Yechen said to the fire mage general. In the previous life, Yechen had seen peak strongmen who could use other professional skills. And most of the skills chosen by those strongmen were stealth of thieves or parry of shield warriors. Stealth, Yechen does not need it. Parry, this skill can prevent oneself from being stiffened, knocked back, or knocked away. Strong men with low stiffness can indeed consider it. Yechen's stiffness is quite high, so he doesn't need to consider parrying, so he chose the Sea of Fire. The Sea of Fire is magic damage. Yechen's magic attack power is not high, but the fire strength is high, so the damage will not be too low. The higher the fire strength, the easier it is to put the enemy into a burn state. It's like the ice array of the ice mage. The higher the ice strength, the higher the freezing probability. Of course, Yechen chose the Sea of Fire. Whether its damage is high or the burn probability is high, it doesn't matter. He doesn't lack the output skill of the Sea of Fire at all. The main reason he chose the Sea of Fire is that the Sea of Fire is a large-scale, continuous skill. This makes it convenient for him to accumulate combo points. Once the Sea of Fire is released, Yechen's combo points are full every second. At that time, it will be very convenient to change into the ultimate warrior suit and use the finishing move. Young man, you have a good eye. The fire mage general smiled with satisfaction. The other generals all shook their heads and sighed, as if Yechen had missed out on so much goodness by not choosing them. The teaching process was very simple. The fire general was obviously also a strong man in the holy domain, and he had lived for many years. He must have practiced the skill of Sea of Fire to the maximum level, so it was really easy for him to teach. A few minutes later, a system prompt sounded in Yechen's ears. System, congratulations on learning the Sea of Fire skill, currently LV1. Thank you for the master's teaching. Ye Chen thanked him and then fled. Ji Haixia, island number 250, which is also the last island of Ji Haixia. Tank led the main force of the throne, the Merchant King and Jian Wuhan led the main force of the Merchant Alliance, and Lan Yan led the main force of the king. There were exactly 3,000 people in total. Ye Chen is now a major general, with a commander value of 3,000 points. Ye Chen directly commanded and pulled the 3 large groups under his command. Let's go. Ye Chen gave an order and led the team into the dungeon. System, you found Horror Gothic, recognition 500 points. As the system prompt sounded, the 3,000 man group fell into the maze. Unlike the mazes in Gothic Raid and Gothic Raid 2, those copies have maps. No matter how complicated the maze is, you can find a way out sooner or later by analyzing the map. However, Horror Gothic does not have a map. Under such circumstances, it will be extremely difficult to get out of the maze. There is no map. How long will it take to get out? Tank said with a wry smile. The main forces also smiled bitterly. Divide into 3 teams and leave different marks along the way. Whoever walks out will send a message. The other 2 teams can also walk out according to the marks and coordinates along the way. Ye Chen had also played this dungeon in his previous life, so he had quite some experience. Hearing this, everyone led the way. Shang Wang and Jian Wuhan led the Shangmeng team to leave. Lan Yan led the king's team to leave. And Ye Chen also led the throne team to another way. ZHSHYan.om The 3 teams went in opposite directions. Of course, there are monsters in the maze, but these 3 teams are the strongest teams in the entire Chinese war zone, and the monsters can't stop them at all. 3 hours passed in a flash, and it was still Ye Chen who led the throne team to walk out of the maze first and came to a place of clouds and mist. White fog rose everywhere, and in the misty clouds, there were 3 conical peaks that pierced the sky, and the top was not visible. We are out. Shang Wang, Jian Wuhan, Lan Yan, you follow your own marks to return to the starting point, and then follow our star-shaped mark to move forward. Ye Chen just said this in the team channel, but heard a cry of surprise from the team. Ye Chen looked up and saw a terrifying monster sticking out from the misty mountain covered by clouds. Dragon head, deer horns, lion eyes, tiger back, bear waist, snake scales, horse hooves, ox tail, gathered together, officially Yun Kailan. Kailan is a lucky beast, a sign of good luck, but when Kailan really appears in front of you, you will feel terrible with its fierce breath and powerful pressure. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 503. Cloudkiran, National Holy Beast. Level 85. HP, 90,000//90,000/0000000. Skills, Cloud Field, Air Cannon, Cloud Hiding, Trampling, Dragon Fire, Shock Star Level 8. 90 billion HP? Awesome. Yuming took a look and couldn't help but be amazed. You know, he is also a strong man in the Holy Domain, and his HP is only 8 billion. For example, Chen Yong, because he is a strong man in the Holy Domain of Berserker, his HP has exceeded 10 billion. But it is only more than 10 billion. This Cloudkiran has a total of 90 billion HP, which simply refreshed his 3 views. And this is just a national holy beast. How terrifying are the world holy beasts in the world ocean behind. The holy word mage reads, the mute skill, the wind god bag team absorbs the clouds. Ye Chen assigned tasks, nodded to Yuming and others, and flew up in the air. Suddenly, the Cloudkiran disappeared again, which is its cloud hiding skill. Yunyan's stealth technique is much more advanced than stealth, similar to strong stealth, and can only be detected by perception. Although Ye Chen has goblin miracle detection glasses, he was unable to see Yun Kailan's trace for a while. In fact, although Yunyan is similar to strong stealth, it is actually a little stronger than strong stealth. Because strong stealth can only last for 10 seconds, while Yun Kailan's Yunyan can last for a long time. Of course, whether it is Yunyan, stealth, or strong stealth, once it enters the attack state, the stealth will fail. Set off a sea of fire to force it out, Ye Chen sneered. After speaking, the three holy fire mages immediately released a sea of fire in the sky, forming 3 walls of fire. Each wall of fire has a range of hundreds of yards, separated and staggered, almost covering the entire sky. Yun Kailan roared softly and appeared in one of the walls of fire. Obviously, it was attacked by the sea of fire and entered the attack state, and the stealth was invalid. Ye Chen followed suit and threw a sea of fire at Yun Kailan's feet, forming a wall of fire. Of course, his sea of fire was only LV1, and the wall of fire formed was very small, with a range of only 30 yards. But it was enough. Ye Chen's sea of fire caused damage to Yun Kailan every second, and Ye Chen's combo points were immediately filled. You should know that the way an assassin accumulates combo points is very different from the way a berserker accumulates rage points. The berserker's rage points are the combo points, which are added 1 point for each hit. Although the assassin's combo points are called combo points, they are based on damage. Throw out any skill and accumulate 2 to 5 points. If it is a multi-stage attack skill such as a boomerang, a sea of fire, or 1,000 needles, the combo points can be filled in an instant. Sea of fire? How do you have a sea of fire? Yuming was stunned. Yes, you, an assassin, can actually use a sea of fire. The 3 holy fire mages were even more surprised. The people below were also stunned. Although the wall of fire almost covered the entire sky, it was released by their teammates after all, so the wall of fire was only translucent to them and could not block their vision. So the scene of Ye Chen releasing the sea of fire was seen by everyone below. The assassin released the sea of fire, which once again refreshed their understanding of Dream World, and at the same time made Ye Chen admire him more and more. Sure enough, everything is possible with Ye Chen. Ye Chen laughed twice, but he did not hide it. After being promoted to Major General, you can cross-professionally learn a skill of another profession at level 30 and below level 30. After a shock, the battle also started. Although there was fog blocking, the misty fog could not completely block the figure of Yun Kailan. Ye Chen led Yuming and others to rush over and besiege. Change clothes. Ultimate warrior suit. With the assistance of the Sea of Fire, Ye Chen did not need to deliberately accumulate combo points, because the combo points were automatically accumulated every second. And he only needed to release the finishing move crazily. A sure kill. Piercing. Star Shock. Double Blades. -18006422. -16943202. -10342409. -8203221. -8203221. Ye Chen attacked frantically, with one finishing move after another, each time dealing over 10 million damage. Ye Chen was now pursuing single target high attack damage, and the destruction storm was too slow, so he didn't want to use it. Also to save time, he used piercing, which was a stabbing piercing. If he went around the back and used the backstab piercing, the damage would be doubled. This. Yuming and the others were stunned by the high damage dealt by Ye Chen. Now Ye Chen's output alone was much more terrifying than the 6 of them combined. In just 1 minute, Yun Kailan's HP plummeted by 5 billion. 5 billion per minute, which is only slightly weaker than the peak Saint Domain powerhouse in its heyday. Ye Chen has already believed in the god of fire Oz, and it is almost impossible for him to become a peak Saint Domain powerhouse, but he still has room for improvement. First of all, his fighting spirit has not yet reached the maximum level, and his weapon, his current dagger, is still only of gold quality. In these two aspects, if there is a breakthrough, Ye Chen is absolutely confident that he can keep up with or even surpass the peak Saint Domain powerhouse in terms of damage alone. After all, he has Xiao He and the feedback power of the blood tree, which no one else has. Strong attack. Thief. While releasing his finishing moves crazily, Ye Chen also used powerful attacks to destroy Yun Kailan's teeth, hides, etc., further weakening Yun Kailan. There were also thieves who stole items one by one. In just 10 minutes, Yun Kailan's terrifying HP was knocked down by half. Ye Chen was too strong, and Ye Chen's team was too strong. The mute mage took action and directly banned all of Yun Kailan's skills, forcing it to use ordinary attacks. Is that the national sacred beast? It looks ordinary. Hey, it's not ordinary like a national sacred beast. It's really that boss Ye Chen and his men are too strong. They froze Yun Kailan to death. That's right, Kailan, such a heavy existence, but was suppressed by boss Ye Chen like a dog. The people below were completely unable to take action. They could only watch the show below and marvel at it. In a blink of an eye, another 10 minutes passed. Yun Kailan wailed, his HP returned to 0 and he died. Countless equipment, coins, and materials exploded, and fell down with his body. Almost at the same time, Shang Wang, Jian Wuhan, and Lan Yan led the team to rush over, dumbfounded. What happened? We just arrived, and the boss has been killed by Ye Chen, the kings laughed bitterly. You know, they are kings, the strongest in the entire Chinese war zone, but now, the gap with Ye Chen is getting bigger and bigger. Of course, Jian Wuhan is an exception. He has the artifact Withered Sword. Even if he can't beat Ye Chen, he has the ability to compete with Ye Chen. The next moment, the national broadcast sounded. National broadcast, congratulations to players Ye Chen, Lu Mang, Jian Wuhan, Shang Wang, for completing the first kill of the national copy Horror Gothic, and get extra rewards, 1 billion experience points, 2 gold coins, and 5 skill points. Team Ye Chen will be rewarded with 3 extra skill points. 0048. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 504. The first kill was completed, and there were a total of 3001 people in the group, including the Sanctuary NPCs, who all gained a large amount of experience points. Ye Chen and a group of powerful men from the Sanctuary failed to upgrade, but almost everyone else did, and most of them reached level 2 in a row. In addition to experience, there are also skill points that benefit everyone. Ye Chen waved his hand, swooped down with Yu Ming and others, and began to clean up the loot. Yun Kailan was very generous, exploding 3 holy cells at once. Of course, this was also thanks to the first kill. It would be good if he could explode 1 holy cell in an ordinary kill. In addition to the saint, a large number of sacred weapons have also been revealed, but they are all sacred weapon sets that cannot be traded. Gothic set. The holy artifact set is quite top-notch equipment. Each piece is a holy artifact. Collecting multiple pieces will enhance the effect of the set. In terms of basics alone, it is higher than 1 or 2 artifacts. Of course, in addition to having a high basic level, artifacts usually also come with terrifying special effects or heaven-defying skills. It is like the decay of all things in the Great Sword of Decay, and it is like the dragon pattern on the dragon pattern skin. Maybe one day, I can also be covered with magical weapons. Ye Chen sighed, now he has far surpassed his previous life, his vision is broader, and his ideas are bolder. Of course, such a high-level pursuit of being covered in artifacts cannot be accomplished now. Now if you buy a set of holy weapons, the basic value can be at least doubled or tripled. This time, Yun Kailan was killed for the first time, and a total of 8 pieces of goth suit were revealed, including armor, leather armor, and cloth armor. Speaking of which, Ye Chen also stole 3 items when he attacked Yun Kailan before. He stole these 3 pieces, and Xiao He didn't steal any of them. The damn thing is, these 3 pieces are not leather armors, he can't wear them, and he can't trade them. After all, the suits are all bound. At the moment, he scanned the 8 pieces of goth suits that had been revealed, and found 2 pieces of leather armor. Gothic trench coat, holy artifact / set. Level 80. Physical defense add 5600. Physical strength add 500. Strength add 900. Agility add 900. Special effect, attack speed add 50%. Special effect, movement speed add 50%. 3-piece set effect. Strength, physical strength, intelligence, spirit, agility add 1000. 7-piece set effect. Light, dark, fire, and ice are strengthened by add 500 points. Light, dark, fire, and ice resistance add 1500 points. Hard add 1000. 9-piece set effect. Critical hit rate add 10%. Dodge rate add 10%. Additional passive, cloud stepping, movement speed add 30% when used in the sanctuary, used in non-sacred areas, has the ability to fly, and does not increase the speed. Gothic leather hat, holy artifact / set. Level 80. Physical defense add 4200. Physical strength add 400. Strength add 800. Agility add 800. Ye Chen glanced at it and was filled with emotion. The Gothic suit is truly a sacred weapon suit. The foundation of a single piece is incredible, and the effect of the suit is also terrifyingly powerful. The 9-piece suit even has the special effect of walking on the clouds. In other words, before the devouring saint reaches the sanctuary, both the fashion wings and the Gothic 9-piece suit have the ability to fly. However, Ye Chen sneered at this attribute alone. He felt that the special effects of stepping on the clouds were a bit useless. After all, the Gothic suit is already a high-end suit, and those who can accumulate one must be the most powerful ones. It is not difficult at all for a strong man like that to get a saint, so why do he need to rely on the special effects of cloud stepping? Of course, the special effect of cloud stepping can increase the movement speed by 30% if used by a strong person in the Holy Realm, which is still good. Ye Chen picked up these 2 leather armor suits without hesitation. But after picking it up, he was not in a hurry to put it on. There are now 4 sets of special effects warrior suits. Although they have all been upgraded to level 80, the Iron Warrior suit has actually been eliminated. Now that his stiffness and defense are up, wearing the Iron Warrior suit will not increase it much. Instead, it will greatly weaken his strength, agility, and other attributes. The Beyblade Warrior, or Beyblade Warrior set of Doom, is also now on the verge of obsolescence. A thief wearing a Beyblade Warrior suit is not particularly powerful at all. The assassin wears the Beyblade Warrior suit, which is the Destruction Beyblade Warrior suit. It mainly uses the Destruction Storm to complete large-scale massacres. But now that Ye Chen has learned the Sea of Fire, in the future, as the level increases and the scope increases, he can also achieve large-scale massacres. Now that there is a replacement, the Beyblade Warrior suit will be eliminated sooner or later. As for the Wind Warrior and Ultimate Warrior suits, they are Ye Chen's main equipment. The advantages of these 2 suits were so obvious that Ye Chen couldn't change them out for the time being. He might have a Gothic suit that he could change out of, but he couldn't tell for sure now. We still need to accumulate a set of Gothic suits and conduct experiments before we can be sure. As for now there are only 2 pieces, Ye Chen doesn't even bother to wear them. Another 5 minutes passed, and the loot from the first kill of Yun Kailan was distributed among everyone. I am now level 77. Now everyone is eager to open up the world's oceans, but Yechen means to wait until Jian Wuhan arrives in the holy domain first. Jian Wuhan was also very knowledgeable. After finishing the dungeon, his level immediately exploded. Well, let's keep going. I have a time dial and can refresh the upper limit of clearing the dungeon once. Yechen smiled slightly. Jian Wuhan and Lan Yan immediately took a step forward and said, "We have them too." "Oh? In that case, we can play Gothic 4 times a day." Yechen was overjoyed. Next, Yechen led the team to continue playing Gothic. But this time, he only brought a team of 30 people, including Jian Wuhan, Shang Wang, Lan Yan, and other kings, Yuming, Chen Yong and other holy domain strongmen, Lu Mang, and other silent mages. For the remaining positions, Yechen kept his selfishness and pulled in Tank, Huo Wu, Uncle Soy Sauce, Big Fried Chicken, Lan, Xiaoro, and others. Because there was no first kill, Jian Wuhan was eager to upgrade, so Yechen reduced the team so that Jian Wuhan could absorb more experience points and upgrade quickly. Of course, reducing the team from 3,000 to 30 people is not as simple as reducing the team. In order to let Jian Wuhan upgrade quickly, Yechen has good intentions. Zayashyan. Thank you. Jian Wuhan was also tactful and thanked Yechen in a low voice. It's okay. I'm also waiting to open up the world ocean. Yechen waved his hand and smiled, and led the team into the dungeon again. The maze, divided into 3 teams again, the same routine. After walking out of the maze, Yun Kailan was crushed again. Although there was no first kill, Yun Kailan, or the National Dungeon Horror Gothic itself, has a huge amount of experience points. Now there are only 30 people sharing experience, and the experience points obtained are still huge. Everyone can share hundreds of millions of experience points. Brushing 3 times is almost equivalent to the experience gained from the first kill. Sure enough, after 2 more brushes, Jian Wuhan rose to level 78. Tank, Huo Wu, and others were at a relatively low level, and they were upgraded by 2 levels in a row. 0048. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 505. For 3 consecutive days, Yechen, Jian Wuhan, and others fought against Gothic. After brushing 4 times a day and 12 times in 3 days, Jian Wuhan finally reached level 79, and then devoured the holy frame and promoted to the holy domain. Yechen also rose 1 level to level 81, and more importantly, he collected all 9 pieces of the Gothic suit. He had a thief in the first kill, which was an advantage that others did not have. Secondly, Yechen was the captain and the leader. He had the priority to pick up the Gothic tears that were dropped in the Gothic dungeon. This Gothic tears was the holy material for exchanging the Gothic suit. Not only Horror Gothic had it, Gothic Assault 2 and so on, all had a drop rate. In these 3 days, plus the ones he had accumulated before, Yechen had 11 Gothic tears in his hand, and he made up for the gaps, exchanged for 2 Gothic suits and collected the 9-piece suit. Night God, ID. Race, Human. Profession, Assassin. Title, Great Good Man, Perceiver, Hidden Weapon Master, Source of Evil, Sharpshooter, Identifier, National Leader, Butcher, Pioneer. Level, 81. HP, 128600 / 128600. MP, 56400 / 56400. Strength, 19,910. Agility, 10,600. Asterisk Physical Attack, 2291023435. Asterisk Fire Attribute Enhancement, 3,439. Asterisk Fire Resistance, 9,050. Recognition, 13,598. Asterisk Perception, 2. Asterisk Critical Rate at 18%. Asterisk Dodge Rate at 18%. Attack speed 50%. Movement speed 80%. Skills, LV23 Sap, LV26 Stab, LV33 Thief, LV16 Lockpicking, Stealth, Sprint, LV22 Throat Slitting, LV25 Bleeding, LV22 Windwalk, LV21 Spinning Stab, LV23 Remove Trap. Rare Skills, LV23 Bleeding, LV31 Hidden Weapon Mastery, LV19 Shadow Attack, LV19 Stun Dart, Shadow Escape, LV23 Boomerang, Bloodblade, Shadow Thorn, Flying Thunder God, Strong Hidden, LV77 Starkill, LV11000 Needle Slaughter. Equipment Additional Skills, Goodwill Aura, War Cry, Flying, LV4 Fighting Spirit. Special Skills, LV22 Poisoning, LV49 Forging, Blood Eyes, LV25 Breaking Martial Arts, LV19 Advanced Dart Production Drawings, LV100 Power Attack, Team Teleport, Self-Recovery, Resurrection, Hand of Hell, LV20 Flame Hymn, LV9 Flame Armor, LV11 Armor Hardening, Tyrant Dragon Pattern, Sand Clone. Assassin Skill Tree, Final Blow, LV15 Murderous Aura, LV12 Killing Mark. Cross Professional Skills, LV4 Sea of Fire. Talent, Firm Will, Passive. This attribute is a bit explosive. Before Ye Chen could put the puzzle pieces in the gothic suit, he couldn't help but glance at the attribute panel and was stunned. He still underestimated the holy weapon set, thinking that the basic increase of 2 or 3 times after changing the set was good enough, but who knew that the strength alone increased by more than 4 times. Now he and Xiaohe use normal attacks together, plus LV4 Fighting Spirit, the damage exceeds 3 million. If you use skills, basically all the damage is over 10 million, the strong attack is at least 30 million damage, and the finishing move is over 100 million. The strongest back piercing the heart, the damage may be close to 200 million. More importantly, he now has a critical hit rate. You know, once a critical hit is triggered, the damage is doubled by default. 18% is not much, but it is not too little. If there is an occasional critical hit, Ye Chen's damage will be even more terrifying. Speaking of puzzles, Ye Chen is now in trouble. Now his HP exceeds 100,000, and his defense is even more terrifying. There is no need to play physical puzzles at all. Strength, firepower, or a little critical hit rate. Ye Chen touched his chin and weighed the pros and cons. There are a total of 9 pieces of equipment that players can wear: weapons, hats, tops, pants, belts, shoes, bracelets, necklaces, and rings. But bracelets, necklaces, and rings cannot be inlaid with puzzles. In other words, including weapons, only 6 pieces of equipment can be inlaid with puzzles. First, let's try the critical hit rate. Ye Chen made up his mind and bought a set of LV1 LV8 critical hit puzzles at the auction. Puzzles are not expensive, but diamonds are really expensive. Because the higher the puzzle is inlaid, the lower the success rate. Once it fails, all the equipment and puzzles will be destroyed. Diamonds increase the success rate of inlaying, and because of this, the price is extremely expensive. However, more than 90% of the diamonds in the Chinese theater are in Ye Chen's hands. Inlaying LV1 puzzles, the success rate is 100%. Inlaying LV2 puzzle, the success rate is 95%. Because it is a holy weapon set, Ye Chen dare not gamble, so he uses a low-level diamond, add 10% success rate, still 100%. Inlaying LV3 puzzle, the success rate is 90%, using low-level diamond, the success rate is 100%. Inlaying LV4 puzzle, the success rate is 85%, using intermediate diamond, the success rate is add 20%. Still 100% success rate. Inlaying LV5 puzzle, the success rate is 80%, using intermediate diamond, the success rate is 100%. Inlaying LV6 puzzle, the success rate is 75%, using high-level diamond, the success rate is at 30%, which is 100% success rate. Inlaying LV7 puzzle, the success rate is 70%, using high-level diamond, the success rate is 100%. System, you have successfully inlaid LV1 critical puzzle on the Gothic leather hat, critical hit rate at 0.5%. System, you have successfully inlaid LV2 critical puzzle on the Gothic leather hat, critical hit rate at 1%. System, you have successfully inlaid LV3 critical puzzle on the Gothic leather hat, critical hit rate at 2.5%. System, you have successfully inlaid LV4 critical puzzle on the Gothic leather hat, critical hit rate at 4%. System, you have successfully inlaid LV5 critical puzzle on the Gothic leather hat, critical hit rate at 6.5%. System, you have successfully inlaid LV6 critical puzzle on the Gothic leather hat, critical hit rate at 11%. System, you have successfully inlaid LV7 critical puzzle on the Gothic leather hat, haha. Critical hit rate at 19.5%. After fighting all the way to LV7, Yechen didn't dare to continue, because at LV8, even with high-level diamonds, the success rate is only 95%. If it is destroyed, who can Yechen cry to? But LV7 is enough, increasing the critical hit rate by 44%. Add the 10% critical hit rate of the Gothic 9-piece set special effect, a total of 54% critical hit rate, and add the 81% feedback power of the blood tree, a total of 97%, nearly 98% critical hit rate. Such a high critical hit rate is enough. In the case that the opponent does not have a very high dodge rate, he almost always hits a critical hit, and the damage is doubled every time. The critical hit is enough, the rest, go for strength. Yechen has been hesitating between strength and firepower, and he should break it. 0048. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 506. Mobile reading. Generally speaking, attribute enhancement is larger than the increase in strength and intelligence, but you have attribute enhancement and the enemy also has attribute resistance. Yechen decisively exerted his strength. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward arrow. The remaining 5 pieces were all upgraded to LV7 strength, adding a total of 2,953 points of strength. Including the feedback power of the blood tree, it is more than 5,400. Now he and Xiaohe use normal attacks at the same time. Counting fighting spirit and critical hits, the damage is almost 8 million. Any skill can do tens of millions of damage, and a strong attack can do close to hundreds of millions of damage. The finishing move easily breaks 100 million. The most powerful backstab penetrates the heart. Once a critical hit occurs, the damage will reach a terrifying 400 million. Haha, now the Wind Warrior and the Ultimate Warrior have been eliminated. Yechen smiled happily. Now any of his skills is a critical hit, with tens of millions of damage, which is much more terrifying than the Ultimate Warrior. As for the Gothic suit, each piece has a very high agility foundation, and the overall speed is slightly slower than that of the Wind Warrior, but it is perfect in other aspects. Yechen himself knows how to choose. Because he already believed in the fire god Oz, and although Oz was a superior god, he only mastered the law of fire element. Yechen could never reach the so-called peak of the Holy Realm. For example, Crazy Axe Cayman is powered by 2 elements of strength and fire. Any skill can cause hundreds of millions of damage, and the ultimate damage is billions. Yechen was still far behind him and other peak Saint Realm experts. But his fighting spirit is not full yet. Once his fighting spirit is full, it will be almost done. Although he is not at the peak of the Holy Realm, once Yuchen is promoted to Marshal, his LV7 fighting spirit will also have the combat power of the Holy Realm's peak. This is the power of Xiaohe and Xueshu, which forcefully pushed him to this height. As for becoming a god, that is another matter. Yuchen is now a preacher of the god of fire, but becoming a god does not necessarily mean that he is a god of fire. God also has a godhead. Which kind of law God masters, his godhead contains the power of that law. Some gods with extraordinary talents master multiple laws at the same time, and their godhead also contains the power of multiple laws. When the player devours the godhead, he will naturally become a god and absorb the power of laws contained in the godhead. To put it simply, whichever god you want to be, you devour the godhead of that god. The godhead can be swallowed repeatedly, and the new godhead will offset the energy of the old godhead. In other words, as long as you have the ability to go to the divine domain and kill gods along the way, you will sooner or later be able to find the godhead you like. Of course, becoming a god is still a long way off. Yuchen calmed down after thinking about it in his mind. We are already 5 days behind the Japanese players. Now it's time for us to enter the world ocean. Yuchen smiled lightly, and everyone in the team immediately raised their arms and shouted. Although Japan's Jingyuhime was the first to arrive at the Holy Land in the entire server, this does not mean that she is the strongest in the entire server. Just like Yuchen, if he was willing to upgrade, he would have reached the Holy Land long ago. The same is true for other foreign powerhouses. But it's just the first in level, which doesn't represent strength. Really strong people often don't care much about level. Of course, Jingyuhime was the first to arrive at the Holy Land in all servers and launched the first world broadcast, so she gained a lot of benefits. 10 Saints, the title leading the whole server, etc. In addition, she led the first wave of Japanese players to open up the world's oceans, which also gave her an advantage. All in all, she is also a very important character and should not be underestimated. World Oceans. 3 steel battleships followed Zhihixia and rushed into the vast sea. The steel battleship is part of the Goblin Miracle series. It was obviously made by Dr. Goblin, Byron, and is much more powerful than the high-end ships. The passenger capacity is also larger, with a capacity of 1,200 people. Yuchen's large group is divided into 3 teams, Throne, Merchant Alliance, and King's Team, each riding a steel battleship and traveling side by side. The world ocean is too huge. Even though the steel battleship traveled very fast, it took an hour to discover a new island. This discovery was 2 islands. One is big and one is small. If both are reduced a million times at the same time, then the big island will look like a big steamed bun, and the small island will look like a Wangzhe small steamed bun, which shows the huge gap between the two. In front of you are the Kingdom of Giants and the Kingdom of Lilliput. They are fighting endlessly all year round. Players can choose to join one of the forces to help them defeat their opponents, Monkey said softly, and his voice sounded in the team channel at the same time. In the past week or two, he has been observing the world map and official expansion packs, and he understands the current situation of the world's oceans better than others. Giants and villains. Can they be the same? If I had to choose, I would definitely choose to join the Kingdom of Giants, Tank chuckled. Nonsense, you can think that Jingyuji would not think of it, Monkey sneered and said, don't think about it, Jingyuji and the Japanese players must have joined the Giant Kingdom. We can only join the Lilliputian Kingdom. Yuchen nodded. In Dream World, the Chinese war zone and the Japanese war zone are the closest to each other. Now that everyone has entered the world ocean, they will soon meet and fight against each other. But Japan enters the world's oceans first. This is its advantage and it has the right of priority. No, how can a villain fight a giant? If we join the Lilliputian country, won't we definitely lose? Everyone smiled bitterly. Not necessarily. Before the players joined, The Giant Kingdom and the Dwarf Kingdom fought for years, and the Dwarf Kingdom stood firm, which obviously showed its good combat power. Ye Chen explained, maybe, the Dwarf Kingdom is a little worse than the Giant Kingdom, but it shouldn't be too different. That's right, otherwise, the Dwarf Kingdom would have been destroyed long ago, Jian Wuhan added in the team channel. Then hurry up. Now that the Giant Kingdom has been joined by the Japanese strongmen led by Jing Ongji, the advantage must be greater. And 5 days have passed. If we don't hurry up, the Dwarf Kingdom may be destroyed, Taishan urged. Ye Chen nodded and ordered the fleet to speed up. Suddenly, 3 steel warships plowed out waves on the vast sea. When they got closer, everyone realized that the island of the Dwarf Kingdom was not big. It was about the same size as the ordinary island in Zhaihesia, which was thousands of yards. It's just that the island of the Giant Kingdom was too big. In contrast, it was far away at that time, so it felt small. After landing on the island, Ye Chen and his companions had just landed for a short time when they saw several little people flying out of the jungle. They looked only the size of a palm, but they were powerful saints. The little people stood in the sky, wearing armor, holding red tasseled spears taller than people, and looked at Ye Chen and his companions with vigilance. Who are you? This is the territory of the little people country, outsiders are not allowed to trespass. The little person in the lead had flames burning on his body, like a scorching fireball, burning the air and releasing a powerful pressure. 7. Sikusu. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 507. Mobile reading. Is that the little man? So small, only the size of a palm. Who said that the Lilliputian kingdom is weak? Those who rushed out randomly are all Saint Domain strongmen. Everyone looked at the little men in the sky and exclaimed. In their large group, including Ye Chen and Jian Wuhan, there are only 13 Saint Domain strongmen, and all the others are not Saint Domain. You are helping the little man, you really can't say such big words. Friends of the Lilliputian kingdom, I heard that you are often attacked by giants. We are here to help you, Ye Chen said loudly, walked on the clouds, and strode to the leader of the little men. Saint Domain strongmen. The little man leader narrowed his eyes slightly, and his expression eased a little. Saint Domain strongmen, even in this world ocean, are the first-line combat power. They are the combat troops of the Lilliputian kingdom. It is indeed the Saint Domain, but most people in the country are not Saint Domain. So, as long as a Saint Domain strongman joins, it is also a happy thing for them. But there is still a question. Why, the giant country is obviously more powerful, why don't you choose to join them? The leader of the villain raised this question. Now in the war, he had to suspect that Ye Chen and others were spies sent by the giant country. It's very simple, because those who join the giant country are our enemies. The enemy of the enemy is our friend, what do you think? Ye Chen smiled faintly. Very good, to show your sincerity, please bring back at least one giant's body. In this way, we can trust you, the leader of the villain said faintly. At the same time, the system prompt sounded in the ears of Ye Chen and others. System, you have triggered the A-level task Trust of the Lilliput country. The task requires, kill a giant and transport the giant's body back. Task reward, experience value add 30 million, 10 silver coins, medal friendship certificate of the Lilliput country. Ye Chen smiled in surprise. It is obvious that the villain has deep concerns and cannot gain their trust with just a few words. But this is normal. In the war, anyone's nerves will be tense. So, Ye Chen turned around, flew around a little man island, and headed for the giant island. Jian Wuhan, Yuming, and others took off at the same time, following Ye Chen's steps. As for the others, they stayed where they were. After all, they were in the same team. Ye Chen and others killed the giants, brought back the giants' bodies, and completed the task. They would also complete the task. A few minutes later, the sea area between the Little Man Island and the Giant Island. Ye Chen, Jian Wuhan, and others came here and immediately found that countless giants were attacking the Little Man Island. Each giant was at least 5 meters tall, and the tallest was 10 meters tall, and could fly in the air. It seems that these giants can be divided by their height. Those who are more than 10 meters tall seem to be strong in the Holy Land, Ye Chen reminded everyone. Look, what's going on? The Little Man Island seems to be blocked by an invisible wall. The giants' attacks were blocked and they couldn't break through, Jian Wuhan said immediately. Some giants from the Holy Land were seen standing in the sky, punching the air with their fists, but a muffled bang-bang sound was heard, which was extremely strange. Just as Jian Wuhan said, there was really an invisible barrier above the Little Man Island. It was this barrier that blocked all the giants out. Boom! With a bang, a sea of fire fell down, forming a semicircle that surrounded part of the Little Man Island. This time it was even more obvious, the barrier was stained with the sea of fire, and the invisible became visible. The barrier was invisible, but the sea of fire was visible, and everyone could accurately determine the location of the barrier with the help of the sea of fire. Sea of fire! Everyone was startled, because all the giants were burly and warriors. They were like monsters, without specific professions or weapons, relying entirely on the powerful strength of their bodies. How could such an existence be in the sea of fire? It's the goddess of the palace. Ye Chen glanced and shouted coldly. Everyone followed his gaze and indeed found some people on a giant warship. The leader was a charming woman in a luxurious robe. Because the giant warship was too big, Ye Chen and others did not find it when they first arrived. Obviously, even if the sea of fire was not released by Jing Ongji, it was released by her subordinates. Go! Kill a giant first! Ye Chen snorted coldly, stepped on the cloud and came to a giant in the holy domain. He casually hit the giant's face with a sea of fire, which then spread 50 yards and formed a firewall of medium size. The firewall has the effect of blocking vision. Except for Ye Chen and his teammates, the rest of the people can't see the scene inside the firewall at all. Kill. Double blade. Shock star. Shadow attack. Backstab through the heart. -2800842223. -1202342221. -1202342221. -1003432329. -35004221. -4803213332. So, Ye Chen started to attack frantically, and the Kylin dagger transformed into a blood blade, hitting bright red damage one by one. Bright red damage represents critical damage, with a 97% critical rate. Ye Chen now has a critical hit almost every time. After a set of finishing moves, Ye Chen madly reduced the health of the sanctuary giant by more than 1 billion. Because the flame wall helps accumulate combo points, Ye Chen does not need to accumulate them deliberately. Even without the Ultimate Warrior set, he can still use the finishing moves crazily. Of course, he cannot release the finishing moves in a loop. The Ultimate Warrior set, in addition to increasing the power of the finishing blow, reduces the cooldown time of the sap, throat slash, backstab, and spinning stab. The cooldown time of these basic skills is the cooldown time of the final blow. With the Ultimate Warrior set, you can use the finishing moves indefinitely. But Ye Chen's damage is so high now that he doesn't need the Ultimate Warrior set at all. Now any ordinary skill can cause tens of millions of damage. Wearing the Ultimate Warrior set and using the finishing move can only cause tens of millions of damage. So there is no need. What a terrible damage! Jian Wuhan, Yuming, Chen Yang and others exclaimed. Although Ye Chen is not the peak combat power of the Holy Domain now, he is much more terrifying than the ordinary Holy Domain and the General Preacher Holy Domain. If I use the decay of all things to weaken it, Ye Chen, you can kill a Holy Domain giant in 3 seconds, Ji Unwilhan exclaimed. Stop, Ji Unwilhan, your weakening will be used to trick Japanese women. Ye Chen sneered and ordered everyone to besiege the current sanctuary giant. The power of him alone can make the sanctuary giant stiff and unable to move. Ji Unwilhan and others attacked at the same time, and the HP of the sanctuary giant dropped sharply. Whoo! Suddenly, a hurricane blew away the flame wall. The flames that were blown away spread out, still covering a radius of 50 yards, but without height. It was just a sea of fire, not a flame wall. 7. Sikusu. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 508. Mobile reading. A pure sea of fire is almost useless to a Saint Domain warrior. Because a Saint Domain warrior can move freely in the air and avoid the sea of fire. However, the big storm actually blew away the wall of fire, which was very powerful. Wind Mage. Ye Chen raised his eyes and saw that Jing Ongji had already flown over with his Saint Domain warriors. In Dream World, only light, darkness, fire, and ice are considered elements. Wind, earth, and poison are not considered elements. Storm Mage, Earth Mage, these are all hidden professions. Wind magic and earth magic have no corresponding attributes. Of course, if the user's weapon has attribute attacks, then the magic will also have corresponding attributes. Take the Storm Mage for example. If you are strong in fire, it will be Fire Wind. If you are strong in ice, it will be Ice Wind. If you are strong in light, it will be Thunder Wind. If you are strong in darkness, it will be Dark Wind. No matter which attribute you choose, the Storm Mage's wind will have that color. However, the big storm just now was a fire wall that broke through from the outside. Ye Chen and others were inside the fire wall and did not see it clearly. Of course, the Storm Mage can also choose not to use the attribute strength, so his wind magic is normal blue. You know, the strong men in the Holy Domain all have the Holy Statue, which increases the 4 attributes of light, darkness, fire, and ice by 100 points and the resistance by 500 points. In other words, even the weakest strong men in the Holy Domain have at least 500 points of resistance in the 4 aspects. Therefore, for non-preachers in the Holy Domain, there is really no need to use the attribute, so as not to be targeted by the enemy's resistance. Just use strength or intelligence, which is safer, at least you will not be restrained by others. It's not just the color of the big storm. Ye Chen and others were inside the firewall and didn't even see who made the move. Is it the God Palace Princess? Or the strong men in the Holy Domain under her? These are unknown. At this moment, the God Palace Princess led the crowd to fly over, a total of more than 30 people. There are players and NPCs. The goddess of the palace was wearing a luxurious robe, which was obviously a fashion item. Her weapon seemed to be hidden in her long sleeves. It was difficult to tell her occupation from her appearance. Ye Chen's eyes condensed. With the powerful recognition and title identifier, he saw through the information of the goddess of the palace. Goddess of the palace, ID. Race, human. Gender, female. Occupation, magic swordsman. War zone, Japan. Level 83. HP, 90500/90500. Note, she has the power of faith in the laws mastered by 2 higher gods, the law of intelligence and the law of dark elements. Peak of the Holy Domain, Ye Chen's eyes were stern. Obviously, the higher god that the goddess of the palace believes in is gifted and masters the law of intelligence and the law of dark elements at the same time. An existence like the goddess of the palace is exactly at the peak of the Holy Domain. You know, some higher gods master 2 laws at the same time. If it is the law of power and the law of spirit, then the high-level preachers of the Holy Domain under their command are not considered to be at the peak of the Holy Domain. Only when they are combined in pairs and their combat power is superimposed can they be considered to be at the peak of the Holy Domain. That crazy axe Cayman is one, and now Shen Gongji is also one. Both are at the peak of the holy domain, but crazy axe Cayman is a martial with full-level fighting spirit, while Shen Gongji is only a major general with LV4 fighting spirit. Shen, her current combat power is at most equal to yours. We have even chopped crazy axe Cayman, so why are we afraid of her? Shen posted the information of Insight Shen Gongji on the team channel. Jian Wuhan glanced at it and sneered immediately. Shen has combat power comparable to the peak of the holy domain, and has a strong attack. Jian Wuhan has a divine weapon, and the power of the law of time is contained in the decay of all things. The two swords are combined, and no one can defeat them. Well, when you weaken, I will kill Shen Gongji first. Shen smiled indifferently. Both are strong in the holy domain. In terms of HP, the NPCs in the holy domain have billions of HP, while the players in the holy domain have only tens of thousands. The difference is not ordinary. Shen's damage is now explosive. Even without Jian Wuhan's weakening, he is sure to easily kill Shen Gongji in seconds if nothing unexpected happens. But with Jian Wuhan's weakening, it is always safer. After all, Jian Wuhan's weakening is a weakening of all attributes, not just HP, but all aspects will be weakened. Who knows if Shen Gongji has other means? Humble Chinese, I have been waiting for you for a long time. Shen Gongji's charming face was full of contempt. With a raise of her hand, a violent hurricane enveloped the entire battlefield. The steps of Shen and others rushing forward immediately felt the help, and the speed dropped more than one level. And Shen Gongji and others walked on flat ground. Not only were they not affected at all, but they also got a speed increase. Windfield. In an instant, the two armies fought together. Just as Shen expected, Shen Gongji mastered both the power of strength and dark elements, and the strong men in the holy domain under her command were all like this. Maybe because of time, the saint domain warriors under her command are only mid-level preachers, or low-level preachers, but their overall combat power is much more terrifying than that of Shen and Jian Wuhan. In addition, they have the advantage in numbers, and Shen was beaten so hard that he couldn't raise his head. Jian Wuhan, Shen roared. Zayasin.c. Oh. Jian Wuhan responded, retreated violently, and then swept out with a withered sword. Everything withered. The terrifying withered yellow light wave made time decay wherever it passed. This is the highest law of time. Humph. Dimension slash. Ji Jingong smiled contemptuously, raised her bare hands, and her long sleeves fell to reveal her lotus-like white arms. In her hand, a dark element longsword suddenly appeared, and she slashed it coldly, killing out a dark element cross storm. This storm actually cut through the space, revealing a trace of darkness in the prehistoric universe. The space was disordered, triggering a strong suction force, rolling up endless airflow. The withered yellow light wave was instantly sucked into the darkness. Not only that, Shen, Jian Wuhan and others were also affected by the violent suction force, and they moved involuntarily towards the space black hole opened by the dimension slash. Fortunately, although the dimension slash was strong, it could only cut through the space for 1 second, and the black hole disappeared in the blink of an eye. The figures of Shen, Jian Wuhan, and others who were being pulled stopped immediately, and they couldn't help sweating. What's the situation? It actually broke my all things decayed. Jian Wuhan's face was sluggish. His all things decayed was invincible, and he had never been dodged by anyone. Now it was broken, and he was immediately hit. You have the supreme law of time, and she has the supreme law of space. If it's broken, it's broken. You shouldn't be surprised. Shen was calm. Law of time? Law of space? Jian Wuhan was confused. After all, he didn't have the experience that Shen had in his previous life, and he didn't understand the power of the law of God. He didn't understand the general laws, Not to mention that even Ye Chen only had a superficial understanding of the law of time, the law of space. I'll explain it to you when I have time. Ye Chen whispered, but now was not the time to explain. 7. Sikusu. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, Ba Wang Shi-san. Chapter 509. Diamond Suit. Instant cut. -500-5032. Jing Gongji's elegant figure suddenly disappeared in the field of wind. The next moment, she appeared in front of Jian Wuhan, her charming face full of murderous intent. Wielding the dark element sword, a flash of dark light revealed that Jian Wuhan had fallen. Normally speaking, Jing Guji is the pinnacle of the Holy Realm, and her skills can cause at least over 100 million damage. But she is strong in the dark, and Jian Wuhan is also a high-level evangelist of the Dark God, with a dark resistance of at least 4,000 points. Jing Guheim's dark strength is estimated to be only about 2,000, and her attack power has dropped by more than 20 times. Because of this, when she killed Jian Wuhan, she only did more than 5 million damage. But Jian Wuhan only had about 100,000 HP in total, and he was instantly killed, and he could not die anymore. But even though Jian Wuhan died, he would not lose level. When a sanctuary player dies, he will not lose level, and a crack will be created in his saint. When the number of cracks reaches 100, the holy grid will be destroyed. You know, Yuchen was standing next to Jian Wuhan. The reason why Shen Gongji killed Jian Wuhan first was obviously because she was more afraid of Jian Wuhan. After all, the decay of all things is no joke. Shen Gongji naturally believes that Jian Wuhan has other means, so it is better to kill him first. Soon enough, after Shen Gongji killed Jian Wuhan, she swiped her sword horizontally and struck Yuchen again, the wind blade. All this happened in just an instant. Yuchen didn't even have time to react before he was slashed in the chest by Jing Guji. The violent black wind blade twisted fiercely, flickering with dazzling flames, but the damage it caused shocked both parties. -109,002. Damage appeared, and Yuchen only had more than 10,000 HP left. A peak Saint Realm expert, this little damage, Yuchen was startled and couldn't help but want to laugh. Holy Grid, 4 kinds of resistance plus 500 points. Gothic Suit, 4 kinds of resistance plus 1,500 points. Titled as the national leader, the 4 resistances will be increased by 300 points. Added together, plus the feedback power of 81% of all attributes of the blood tree, Yuchen's dark resistance is as high as 4,163 points. Although he is not the preacher of the Dark God, his secret resistance surpasses that of the Dark God's preacher. How terrifying! In addition to resistance, he also has terrifying defense power. This resulted in Jing Guji using her skills, which had an attack power exceeding 100 million, but only dealt 100,000 damage. If I open my domineering body again, she won't even be able to break through my defense, Ye Chen said coldly. Even he didn't expect that he was so strong. The feedback power of the blood tree is really awesome, although the increase in all attributes is only 81%, which is less than double. But Yuchen's base was already terrifyingly high, and with another increase, the damage of Jing Guji was reduced by an unknown number of times. This. Jing Guji's charming face was full of astonishment and she couldn't believe it. Her damage can easily exceed 100 million, but Yuchen's defense and resistance are so terrifying that it makes her damage so low. Die! Ye Chen shouted loudly, and the veins on his shiny black face covered with mysterious Tyrannosaurus patterns rioted, showing a ferocious look, triggering a violent and domineering look. As a man, it is normal to feel pity for a woman, but Yuchen will never hold back her enemy, even if the other person is as beautiful as a flower. Wipe your throat. -2500. The bloody blade cut through Jinggyuji's delicate throat, and the blood flowed, which was extremely poignant. Jingguheim's defense and resistance were both ridiculously strong, causing Yuchen's damage to plummet, but he still dealt 250,000 damage and killed Jingguheim instantly. But the next moment, the dead Jinggu princess emitted smoke for no reason, and turned into a piece of wood with a bang. Jinggyuji herself seemed to teleport to more than 10 yards away. This is the substitution technique of the ninja. In the Japanese war zone, there is a profession of ninja, and Jingguheim is a major general, and she obviously also learned the substitution technique across professions. This Chinese man is very strong. Jingguji stood more than 10 yards away, her luxurious robes fluttering in the wind, her deep eyes staring at Ye Chen. The fight between her and Ye Chen seemed to be evenly matched, but in fact she fell behind. She slashed Ye Chen. Not only did Ye Chen not die, but he also lost half of his skills. But Ye Chen slashed her, but he forced her to use the substitute technique. This substitute technique was one of her life-saving skills, and its cooldown time was also very long. "Queen, leave the rest to us," a group of holy nuns under Jinggyuji said loudly, striding in front of Ye Chen. "Just you guys, I'm afraid you can't stop me." Ye Chen sneered, not entangled with Sanctuary N, activated his unicorn wings, bypassed them, and continued to chase Jingguji. While pursuing, Ye Chen activated his hegemonic body at the same time. In a moment, the attacks of those strong men from the Saint Realm hit him, but they were unable to break through the defense, and one blood point was forcibly deducted. The captain's strength is simply unfathomable. Yu Ming and others were shocked beyond measure. A powerful attack from the Saint Realm could not break Ye Chen's defense. What is this concept? Not only them, Jingguji's beautiful eyes also flashed with fear. Ye Chen's speed was too fast. In this field of wind, Ye Chen's speed was hindered, and the speed of Jingguji and others was increased. But even so, Jingguji's speed is still not as fast as Ye Chen. Earth Fire. Unable to escape, Shen Gongji could only fight hard. With a lift of her sleeves, a dark fire suddenly rushed up from Ye Chen's feet, like the bloody mouth of a terrifying beast, wishing to devour Ye Chen. Ye Chen sneered, did not dodge, and directly resisted the attack. Bang. -1. This is impossible. Shen Gongji's teeth trembled. She couldn't imagine that her combat power at the peak of the holy domain could not break Ye Chen's defense. There was no way. Although Ye Chen was not a dark god evangelist, he was better than a dark god evangelist. His dark resistance exceeded 4,000 points. And Shen Gongji's dark strength was at most 2,000 points. She couldn't even break Ye Chen's dark resistance, let alone Ye Chen's terrifying defense. Die! Ye Chen roared again, and the blood blade with violent power stabbed into Shen Gongji's stomach. WZHOSHYan.com. It only takes 5 seconds to break the martial arts, and now 3 seconds have passed. Ye Chen knows that time is running out, so he is ruthless and merciless. With a bang, Ye Chen seemed to have pierced through the space, but Shen Gongji didn't lose any blood. Strong attack? Ye Chen's eyes were stern, and he attacked again. Although he was slashing at Shen Gongji, the blood blade seemed to be slashing in another space. Shen Gongji was not injured, so naturally he would not lose blood. In fact, Shen Gongji has a special item in her hand, the Dimension Stone. When Shen Gongji suffers damage that exceeds her own blood volume, the Dimension Stone will activate its effect and take the attack to another dimension. This is obviously the power of the law of space. The Dimension Stone can activate its effect 3 times a day, which is almost like saving Shen Gongji's 3 lives. And 7. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 510. Mobile reading. In fact, the 9-layer mirror of innocence also has a similar special effect. When the mirror is damaged beyond resistance, it will shatter a layer and become immune to damage. The Dimension Stone has a very high style. When the mirror cannot withstand the damage, it will take the attack to another dimension. But style is style. The Dimension Stone even has a trace of the power of the law of space, but its practicality is not as good as the 9-layer mirror. Also immune to damage, the 9-layer mirror can block 9 times a day. The Dimension Stone can only block 3 times. The gap is obvious at a glance. However, Ye Chen did not know that the goddess of heaven had the Dimension Stone. After being slashed twice and being immune to damage, his eyes immediately became stern. The Po Wuju still lasts for 1 second. Ye Chen calculated the time in his mind. If he did not have the powerful body of the Po Wuju, he would not be able to resist the attack of the goddess of heaven. The wind blade just now, but the goddess of heaven hit it casually, and still knocked off more than 100,000 blood from Ye Chen. Although Ye Chen activated the blood blade, which has a blood-sucking effect, after he slashed a few times, Shen Gongji either used the substitute technique or the Dimension Stone to be immune to damage. So Ye Chen did not recover a single drop of blood. Now his HP is only 20,000, which is not enough to withstand any attack from Shen Gongji. Of course, he still has the Sand Clone, Xiao Hei's instant transfer, and even passive resurrection. I really don't believe it, I must kill you. Ye Chen's domineering spirit did not diminish, and he continued to attack violently, but Shen Gongji was afraid. The Dimension Stone used up its special effects twice in a row, and Shen Gongji felt an unprecedented threat and quickly launched a wind barrier. Swish! Bang! Ye Chen's spinning stab swept twice, and the wind barrier shattered like a mirror, but Shen Gongji escaped several meters away. At this moment, the Po Wuju cooled down, and Ye Chen's domineering body dissipated. Die! In the air, Jingongji spun around swiftly, and the dark elemental sword in her hand triggered a terrifying black storm, which swept towards Ye Chen at lightning speed. Bang! Ye Chen's body was shredded by the storm, but turned into yellow sand, which was swept by the storm again, making the battlefield full of smoke and miasma. Jingongji was stunned. It was obvious that she had just killed only a clone of sand. Ye Chen's real body teleported behind her, with a sneer on his lips. Ye Chen hit her with a stick suddenly. Stun. -72,002. After all, the stun is just a control skill, and the percentage damage is not high. When Ye Chen used the stun, he actually wanted to release the combo points and directly use the finishing skill, Shock Star. The damage of Shock Star is high, enough to kill Jingongji instantly. However, just when he wanted to release the combo points, he suddenly realized that he had no combo points. Combo points are calculated based on damage, but all his previous attacks were immune. It wasn't until the stun club hit him that he suddenly woke up. It was all inertia. Having played the assassin for such a long time, Ye Chen was also talented and had a clear grasp of the combo points. With one slash, no matter what skill he used, he could accurately calculate how many combo points he had accumulated. But it was this inertia that caused him to make a rare mistake, and a trace of annoyance immediately appeared on his shiny black face. In fact, there was no need for him to be annoyed. He didn't know that Jingongji had the Dimension Stone and had an effect of immunity to damage. Even if he didn't use the stun club just now and used another killing move, he would also be immune to Jingongji's Dimension Stone once. Focus fire. Bang bang bang. Ye Chen's hegemony disappeared, and many enemies were staring at him. This time, Ye Chen fell on the spot. 1 second later, Ye Chen triggered the passive resurrection and stood up again. At the same time, Jingongji also recovered from the dizzy state. Ye Chen? Such a strong Chinese man. Jingongji looked at Ye Chen deeply, and with a flick of her long sleeves, her graceful back was already 10 yards away, and an ethereal voice sounded, "Retreat." Hearing this, the strong men of the holy domain of Jing'ongji's side immediately retreated violently. At the same time, the giants also retreated violently. "Captain, what should we do?" Yuming and others looked at Ye Chen. Ye Chen broke through the limit again and again. Although they were both in the holy domain, Ye Chen was able to crush them. At this moment of decision, everyone followed Ye Chen's lead. "Kill a giant, and we will retreat too," Ye Chen said lightly. Since he had already handed over the passive resurrection, he had no intention of chasing. Hearing this, Yuming and others began to act. The holy domain giant had already flown away, so they joined forces to attack the ordinary giants on the giant battleship. In front of the strong men of the holy domain, even the world's golden lords can be easily defeated. What's more, now there are more than 10 holy domains attacking at the same time. It takes only a few minutes to knock down a giant corpse. Let's go back to Lilliput first. Ye Chen waved his hand, and Yuming and others jointly carried the giant's body and followed Ye Chen's steps. With a bang, Ye Chen hit an invisible barrier. Obviously, this is the barrier of Lilliput. The giant can't enter, so it turns out that we can't enter either. Ye Chen smiled bitterly and returned along the original route. 10 minutes later, he came to the other end of the Lilliput Island, where the large army was. Several sanctuary villains are still here. With a bang, Yuming and others threw the giant's body on the ground, and dust flew. "Very good, you brought back the body of the giant. We in Lilliput are willing to be friends with you." The leader of the Lilliput smiled slightly, and at the same time, the system prompt sounded in the ears of Ye Chen and others. "System, you have completed the task Trust of Lilliput, and the rewards are as follows: experience value add 30 million, 10 silver coins, metal friendship certificate of Lilliput." The next moment, the space fluctuated, and Ye Chen looked up and saw the barrier. The barrier was semicircular, covering the entire Lilliput Island. Ye Chen could even see the health bar displayed on the barrier. Previously, it was attacked by the giant, and the health bar of the barrier was about 90%, and it was slowly recovering automatically. "Everyone, welcome to our Lilliput." The attitude of the leader of the Lilliput suddenly became much kinder. He smiled slightly and led the team to fly into the forest first. Ye Chen, Yuming, Chen Yong and other strong men in the Holy Land followed closely. Below, Tank, Shang Wang, Lan Yan and others walked through the forest. Now everyone can see the barrier. After passing through the barrier, there is a wonderful feeling of breaking through the water, which is amazing. After passing through the forest, we really entered the Lilliputian kingdom. Ye Chen looked down from a high place. There were small houses everywhere in the Lilliputian kingdom. The tallest one was 2 meters high, and the ordinary ones were only 1 meter high. The general streets were only 2 meters wide. Tank and others felt constrained when walking on them. The Lilliputians were hospitable and welcomed them into the country like a triumphant hero. 7. Sikusu,